trampoline the other day, and it's not your fault. He's the one who put it out there, so he looks like it was pretty good to me. You know, doing backflips on trampolines, and you know, that made me cringe a little bit. But he desires to get back, even be better than he was. So it's a bit hard to keep him patient. It's time to turn him loose, though. We could have let him do some things in spring besides the routes on air and all those things, but we didn't, and he's ready to probably go and run and jump and catch balls, and so that he has his confidence come fall camp. So he's full go now.
Hugh, what are your thoughts on satellite camps, and do you anticipate any sort of change from the SEC?
The NCAA rule for camps was very clear that they're not designed for the sole purpose of recruiting, and I'm not for satellite camps, and I think our league has said that, and we wish everyone was the same as us. I have no idea if that's going to be discussed, so a better time to ask. That would be some of the coaches afterwards, but I'm not for doing them. I think we've got our hands full just trying to run our camps on our campus. Now, if others are going to do it, and it's going to be a consistent thing that continues to grow, I'll have to reevaluate my position on that probably somewhat. But standing here today, when I walk in there, someone would have to convince me to go the other direction. I'm not for them.
I mean, just to give the other side here, I mean, what about a kid from Massachusetts who, maybe can't afford to come to Ole Miss on his own?
Yeah. Well, here's what I would say. Is that an area that we recruit heavily? What are the chances of us winning a recruiting battle and the cost ratio of us spending time up there? It costs a lot of money to load your staff up, load everybody up, and go to a place like that that we typically are not recruiting heavily. So,
but if somebody else wants to go to that trouble and expense to do it, then to maybe get one player, I mean, is that a big problem for you?
Well, the problem comes in that it's not a problem if everyone can do that, but our league can't right now. And so I think that's where you're seeing, if it's going to continue to do that, we probably need to look at our position. I don't know that I would ever change and do it anyway, but if someone wants to do that and feel like they're at a disadvantage in their recruiting circle, right now I haven't seen that in the areas we recruit, we typically get all those kids from those areas to campus if they're really serious. And so I guess it's a selfish position somewhat in that, I kind of like it the way it is for us, but I totally understand if I were sitting somewhere and in my recruiting circle there are camps going on from outside schools in the Power 5 in particular, I would want the freedom to do the same.
Hugh, that recruiting circle you mentioned, is it expanding now that you've had success and you have high-profile players maybe for next year's draft? A lot of your guys have been talking about it. Is that circle broader now than it was?
Oh yeah, we're nationally. We'll go national, but we're not going to spend an enormous amount of money and time in a lot of places covering every school. But if we've identified a kid, we feel like we fit with that kid fits with us, and we have a legitimate chance, we'll go anywhere to recruit them.
Hugh, how many do you think could leave for the draft next year? I mean, there's so much attention on Laramie, Robert, Laquan. How many could you lose?
Their resume is what they'll put on tape, and that will determine that. I just want them to stay focused on preparing for game one, and I think they're all talented enough to be NFL players, but their resume is what they're going to put on tape, and no coach, no media guy, no agent, no one can do for them what they can do for themselves by preparing and putting their resume on tape. I do think they're all very possible candidates to go, but you've got to put the resume on tape.
You talk about the competitiveness in the SEC, but in the SEC West, last season, it looks like again this season, it's just unbelievable the slight disparity from 1 through 7.
Well, I've carried that flag from last year. I believe all 7 are top 25 teams, and probably won't be voted that way, or probably can't stay that way because we'll beat each other up. But there's no question in my mind that all 7 are very, very good football teams that belong around the top 25 in the country.
What are your thoughts on the SEC grad transfer rule, and should it be tweaked at all when undergrads can transfer, in despite having criminal issues, and one guy can't get in because of an academic issue?
I haven't given a lot of thought to that. You're talking about a guy that's graduated, and our rule is a little different than everybody else's. We've got some, we have to appeal it, and then certain things have to be met. We'll talk about that. I think there may ought to be some, I kind of like the rule, but I do think there may ought to be a few exceptions or some clauses that we add to it. That there's always probably exceptions to rules, and the way we have it now is probably cut and dried, and I know that'll come up, and we'll discuss that.
How'd you play